So, welcome to BFS Wargaming. Patrick here with Alex. We're going to talk about the Genestealer Codex. We've played a game. So, we played my Necrons versus the Genestealer Codex. What are your first thoughts, Alex?
About that game or about the Codex?
Well, the game did not go in the Genestealer Cult's way. I think for various reasons. I think we said that Alex gave me first turn, even though he had to deploy first. He had the blip tokens, which worked really well. And Alex wanted to show off, like, or see what we could do by me going first and him then having to counter that. But I think because I had the Doomsday Arcs and I managed to take out 2 Lehman Russes in the first turn,
Yeah.
which was basically Alex's heavy hitters. I mean, I wasn't expecting to take them both out.
No, I mean, that's the thing. With the Genestealer Cult, they don't have a huge amount of strong firepower. I mean, you can take a lot of chaff and they're hitting on 3, well, not hitting on 3s, they're hitting on 4s, wounding on 5s because of strength 3 weapons.
Yeah.
But the hope was with the Lehman Russes that you've got your back support that, you know, is shooting the higher strength or higher toughness stuff downfield and trying to deal with them. The fact they got wiped straight away meant I was then limited to 2 trucks and then my infantry, which we're going to struggle against anything that's not.
And they were the Goliath trucks, which haven't got as much heavy firepower as you can put on, for instance, the Goliath Sword Grinders.
Yeah, twin autocannons aren't too bad.
Yeah, no, they're fine.
But when you're shooting Necrons with their with the invulns and quantum shielding and fairly decent toughness as well, it doesn't feel like you're doing a lot. But yeah,
I think as well, because in that game you had a lot of the neophytes and acolytes, and with, like you say, with strength 3 weapons and I'm toughness 4 at minimum, it just wasn't doing anything.
It's a slog, especially when the things you do finally kill them reanimate.
Yeah, because you won't kill enough of them because your weapons are ineffective.
Yeah.
It definitely made it, even I was thinking he's just not doing enough damage, you know, like with the dice is rolling, because he's hitting on 4s, wounded on 5s, like it's just, you're just not getting enough through to take out a unit. You know?
I mean, we've been having a bit of discussion during the game and after the game, and I think what I came to in the conclusion is that it's not so much I think I had, not that it was too many infantry, but the case of not enough mobility.
Yeah.
If I had more trucks and had that as a weapons platform to house, you know,
and they're shooting out the top of the trucks as well.
And it's open top, so I can have movable mining lasers and grenade launchers, and potentially I can get more firepower up there. The issue I think I had was that I only had a 10-man neophyte squad in range to shoot a single squad of Necrons of a different unit to the other neophytes I had. So I was pretty much splitting a lot of shots and it wasn't doing enough damage, whereas it chipping away and it would come back. So I think if I had more transports, with maybe a couple more heavy weapons in those neophyte squads, maybe drop a squad or 2. Yeah. Put them in trucks and then take some of the rock grinders with the heavier weapons that can transport squads of 6. So put acolytes into those because you're not going to fit neophytes, but get them up the field. I think there'd definitely be a huge improvement on what we saw in that game. I
agree. Yeah, I think like we said, there was a lot of models on the table, but to be honest, he never really got the chance to. You deep struck half, or almost half of the power level. And by the time that got in, where I'd moved up the table and I had good screening, he just couldn't get in behind my lines or anything. So when he was putting them in, they were in front, and then I was shooting most of it. I mean, it was only really the Aberrants and the Abominant that were they were really hard to get rid of. Actually,
they're the
ones
really that did all the work, but everything else was a bit of a struggle. And it's just that what I wanted to try and do in that game is, because it's something completely new. No other army can do this. They can't. No other army can. Pretty much deep strike everything. You've only got select models that can do it. You know, your Space Marines, you've got your Terminators and jump pack units, and granted, I'm sure there's quite a few armies now that have.
They have stratagems, some of them, where you can pay like a command point for each unit and stuff like that. But it's
but even then, a lot of those are now turning into things like clandestine infiltration for the AdMech that I play. That's now a scout movement. It's
where
no
you can
longer
you can move up to 9 inches, can't you?
Yeah, so it used to be that you could essentially deep strike them 9 inches away, but now you can only move them 9 inches out of your deployment zone. So it's completely changed that. And whereas this army, everything pretty much has cult ambush bar vehicles, and they can pop up wherever you want. So I thought, well, let's see what happens if I try and heavily rely on
the vehicles just don't have the bit where they can go underground, but they still have the bit where they can cult ambush.
Yeah, so they can cult ambush with the blips. So you can still. I mean, you can't see. So in the game we did a null deployment where essentially I had my army was deployed. I had blip markers, but you couldn't see what those things were. And what I want to try and do is right, it's a bit of a gimmick for this army. Let's see what it does. Let's put the blips down and see what I can do with that. Let's put everything else in ambush and see how that actually works, because I know a lot of people are saying, you know, if you've got everything off the board, it's really overpowered and not fair. But then you're actually not helping yourself when you don't have enough on the board to deal with.
Yeah, and you're not, and also with the blips, you're not really off the board in terms of unless you're putting them underground. So you're just setting up, and then what happens is if you go first, you set up before your movement phase, and you actually put all your models on the table where the blips are. And if your opponent goes first, they have to move. Then you set up your models on the table, which is really, really good because you can then change things. You can hide units. You can stop certain things being attacked, like we shot at. I think it's really, really strong. And with the new deployment, the way the new deployment works in chapter approved, where you choose a deployment, someone has to set up first. You know, it's really, really. I think you could gain a lot of tactical advantage by having all of your army in blips, and then you can say you put all these blips down. You were going to put your Leman Russ here, but then you see something that you think, it's got line of sight on that, you can put it over here. Yeah. You know, and then you can put something else there, like a neophyte squad that no one cares about, you know? Yeah,
because you're no longer having to take turns to deploy a unit. You're not countering each time someone puts down, you're deploying everything. The blips actually, I mean, you deploy everything, but I took a Nexus when he appears on the field.
Because, I mean, even if you are going back and forth, so even if you do it in the old style of deployment, you're just putting blips down. Like they're putting their whole army out, and then you can put your army out when you want afterwards. It's really, really good. I think it could be really strong tactically. It could you could win your games.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Jackals?
They didn't really do much.
No.
I mean, the Jackals they really don't cost that much for what they are. I mean, that's a squad of 4. The Incinerator and a Parax. I think it came to just over 70 points.
Yeah, which is not much at all, is it really?
Really not much.
And they're all 2 wounds each.
Yeah, 2 wounds each.
Toughness 4.
Toughness 4, and they're -1 to hit from shooting.
Yeah.
So you try to take a shot on, they're hard to hit, which is good. I think the only issue is they got into combat quicker than really what we wanted them to.
Yeah, and probably with the thing you didn't want to get in combat with,
exactly.
Which was the Wraiths, and the Wraiths killed them pretty quick.
Yeah, they're not huge. I mean, the armor saves are still like everything else, like a 5 up armor save, no involves or anything like that. So if you hit them, they're likely to die, and they're not going to have a huge chance to save them, depending on the number of shots, especially with Necrons with you.
Because we were talking about Genestealer cult and sort of they're meant to be like glass cannonish. Obviously, I didn't really feel that today with much other than the Aberrants and the Abominant. Like that's the only thing I felt like really. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure that the Leman Russes would have if they'd got a chance to shoot, but.
And if I didn't fail all those charges with the Acolytes, with their heavy swords, and they should tear through units, but they just didn't get in, they got shot off the board instead. As
far as the characters go, there's a lot of ability to shoot other enemy characters. Yeah. You've got 2 sniper rifles, you've got the Kenomorph who's got, which is really good, them 3 pistols that then generate, every time you hit it generates, you can then roll to hit again, and he's hitting on 2s. Like, he's basically, you're almost getting a guaranteed at least 10.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact that he's got the potential to do 12 shots, and they do 2 damage each. So, I know some people have said, you know, you could kill a knight with that. You could if you can pull off the wounds. It is only strength 4 still.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think
I'd love to see that.
You're going to kill a knight outright with it.
But this is the fact that you can put out 24 wounds on a single model that's less than 100 points.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can target characters, not many characters could.
It's only 12 inches, but still, like, you could deep strike them in or whatever. Or if a character moves up close, he pops up from the blip or whatever. I think it's good. I think the Nexus, is it?
Yes, that's the Nexus. Yeah. He's the guy who will give you command points back depending.
And that's not even. That's just his. That's not a relic. That's not a warlord trait. No, that's just
what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Astra Militarum have that with one of their characters, don't they? I mean, again, that wrong. I don't play Astra Militarum.
I thought it was a relic, but you might well be correct. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's like a built-in thing. So for him, he can he can move one of your blip markers 12 inches once you deploy him. So if you put him on the table, then you can move something else.
Yeah.
Move that blip marker, you don't have to spend the command points, he just does that.
Yeah.
And then he gives you command points back, obviously 1 command point or a 6-up, depending on whether you do it and if your opponent does it, so you can get them on both. The funny thing with him, though, that I was mentioning in the game is that if you've got a Nexus on the table and there's a Primus on the table, he gives you +1 to your rolls to get command points back. So if a Primus is on the table and you spend a command point on a 5-up, you get it back. If you've got, I think it's the, what was he? Other guy, he's the Clamavus or something like that.
Yeah,
if he's on the table,
you can get it. When I spend a command point, you get it on a 5-up. Yeah.
So it's funny. I think they've done a lot to try and get all these characters to work together. I don't know how effective it is, because you can sometimes rely quite heavily on other characters if you start wanting to get everything to work
synergize
to its best.
Yeah.
And have.
But then I think that's going to be a lot of. It's going to be a lot of. I think it's one of those armies you have to synergize things to make it work, and I think it's not going to be an easy army to play. I don't think you're going to be able to just pick up Genestealer cults like you can with Necrons. Necrons are a very straightforward, quite a simple army. And Genestealer cult, I think you're going to have to really learn how to synergize it, how to, work with the characters and stuff like that. Because it's got a lot of characters, and a lot of them are elites and stuff. And
yeah, all the new characters are elites, bar the Alphas Jackal. That's the only HQ. But with like the release of 6 or 7 models in the last
the Abominant is HQ, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, yeah, the Abominant is as well.
He was obviously out earlier. And then this new was just to make us.
That's a remodel. So from I think it's the 6 models in the end they've released. If you count the Kellamorph and then the Biophagus that's going out next week. Yeah. It's like 6 of them, and I think they're all elites.
Oh, okay.
The only new HQ from the release is essentially the Jackal.
Yeah.
The Magus being remodeled. The Abominant's been around for a good while, since Tooth and Claw. Yeah. So it's not like you're going to have a lot of. It's not a lot of choice for HQs, but there's a lot of elites that they can slot 20 detachment anyway, so you can put them in there. The
Alphas, is it?
The Alphas.
Yeah. What did you think? Like, obviously it's a threat, and she can move, and she's a threat with that 36-inch sniper that can target characters. You can move to get into line of sight. With the Rusted Claw, she's ignoring moving and firing with heavy weapons. I think that's quite good. Yeah,
the way that I ran it, and the fact that what I've done with the Jackals, I've put the Incinerator on. I thought, okay, I want these guys to be they want to run up front like a scouting party, and they're going to try and hit something and flame it and kill a few things and run off. I don't know if the Alphas really synergizes with them particularly well, as though they're quite good together. I think the Alphas is probably
wants to sit back
because she gives the ability to reroll. I think it's hit rolls of 1 in shooting to a particular target she nominates, within line of sight 36 inches away. So she's probably more the one you want running around your back.
Yeah, because in terms of shooting, these aren't really doing anything, are they?
No, again, these are all based auto pistols, so they're strength 3, so not particularly good. The Incinerator is the good gun in there.
Yeah, which is your flamer, 12-inch.
Yeah,
and then you've got the axe, obviously, and some.
Yeah, which it gives you a couple of extra strength in combat. Yeah. But I don't know if I'd want to get these guys that close into combat quickly. It would have to be small units you're targeting. I wouldn't want to run that into another 10-man squad of warriors or something.
No. And then you've got the Sanctus, is it?
Yep, the Sanctus. So I went with the sniper rifle on him rather than the knife. Again, he's pretty good because you can deploy him. He has the perfect ambush stratagem for 0 command points.
Yeah, for free, which is really good. So you can either move D6.
Yeah, move D6 inches, or he can shoot.
Which with a sniper rifle.
Yeah, if you've got if you put him into a blip, your opponent deploys a character, and you can go, hang on, I can make this. I can either put this character on the blip and see line of sight and just shoot them as soon as he deploys, and then shoot them again in your shooting phase, or you take the Nexus, you move his blip, you put the blip in somewhere advantageous to see a character, pop him, get him to shoot with the perfect ambush, wait for your shooting phase again because he can shoot again, and that's 2 shots with a sniper rifle.
And technically you can shoot in the enemy's movement phase because it's you all coming up at the end of the enemy movement phase, and that says it's to be played in the movement phase, it doesn't say your movement phase.
Yeah, so I think that's something we might have to send an email into GW.
Yeah, they might FAQ that, who knows, but I think it's pretty strong.
But it's the same. If you take the first turn, you can definitely do that.
Yeah, but I think
it's just questionable in the opponent's turn.
Yeah, I think they can though, because I think that it's. I don't think that they're super strong or anything. I mean, this is the guy that's really good against psychers, isn't he? His sniper rifle. So if he wounds a psyker, it makes them peril, which could be really, really strong. Yeah, so I think he could be really, really good, and I think I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, I think that's partly what the Genestealer cult meant to be. You can move things around and then bang, you come up, ambush, he's shooting you. Because you can only do it once, because it's when he reveals himself. So it's not like he can shoot twice every turn. What about the Abominant? I thought this guy was really good.
Yeah, I mean, you can really buff an Abominant quite a lot, to be honest.
Yeah. So you made him your Warlord, didn't you?
He was my Warlord. He's already got Bestial Vigour, so he's reducing damage by 1 to a minimum of 1.
Yeah.
He's also got a 5-up Feel No Pain.
Yeah.
Him being a character, you can't target him unless obviously you've got something that's sniper based.
Yeah.
Throw in the fact that if he does an unmodified hit roll of a 6, it does
another automatic hit.
An automatic hit. Then the fact he was my Warlord, I gave him the...
And not just that, he does that for oral for the aberrants
and all
the
aberrants around him within 6 inches. As he was my Warlord, I gave him the trait which essentially means he's -1 to hit. So in close combat and shooting, so he's hard to hit.
Which is good.
He's hard to kill because he can keep regenerating wounds as well.
And he's then it's taking the wounds down as well, yeah.
And what was the other thing he did? There was an amulet I gave him. So
you couldn't
be overwatched.
And there was something else that amulet did, but one of the things was he couldn't be overwatched.
I think it was that one. I think you add 1 to your saving rolls on shooting attacks, and you can't be overwatched.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
Something along those lines.
I can double check it. I've got the
we'll have a look. But it was really good, and I mean, my Wraiths went into it and laid bed. Like they took 2 wounds off him, and then he got them straight back. Obviously, when it was his turn, he regenerated D3 wounds. So, rolled a 5, got his 2 wounds back.
Amulet of the Void Worm is the one I'm thinking. So that's add 1 to your saving throws made for the bearer against ranged weapons. In addition, enemy units cannot fire Overwatch at the bearer,
which is really, really good.
And that's available for anything in the army. It's not restricted to any particular unit or.
Yeah, but I mean, how many is that a relic? Yeah,
that's a relic. Yeah.
But I mean, you're obviously putting them on characters, and I mean, how many of these characters do you really want charging? Probably just the Aberrant, isn't it? And the Patriarch.
I mean, the Abominant, the Patriarch, the Primacy mold to put it on.
The Primacy is pretty good, yeah, that's true.
I mean, he's probably better against infantry. I don't have... I've got the model, I haven't built him, but the Locus, he might be quite good.
Well, he's got 4 attacks.
He's 4 attacks, he's hitting on 2s. He's the sort of guy who's for close combat. So each time a character model, a cult character model, other than the Locus, loses a wound whilst he's within 3 inches, you can select the Locus to intercept the attack instead of using Unquestionable Loyalty. So I mean, he's like the infantry. He can do that. He can save people. So you want him up close with people. He can subtract leadership.
He can do a 6-inch heroic intervention.
6-inch heroic intervention. He's got a 5-up involved save, and he always fights first in the fight phase.
Yeah, so sounds pretty good.
He's pretty much built to. He's there to guard your other characters, but he can also kick ass.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good. So I think as a codex, it's obviously I think it's going to be a good codex. I think there's some really good stratagems. Like when we played, Alex hadn't had like a massive amount of time to look through it because he was busy painting models.
Yeah, as you can see.
So you know, it's really. I think it's one of those ones that there's a lot to it. Like I feel like the Orcs was a little bit more straightforward. You know, when we done the Orcs with John. It was a more straightforward codex. You sort of plug in and play a little bit more. Genestealer Cult is, I think you're going to have to do a lot more research. You're going to have to work out what works best. But I do think with the blip and the deployment, and I think with Genestealer Cult Codex, I think it's an army you're going to want to play the missions, which is what I feel the game is heading towards anyway. It's all about playing the missions because of acceptable casualties, where if you get tabled, as long as you're winning on victory points. I mean, in that game, you were extremely unlucky, not just with dice rolls, not just with failing charges, but with cards. Like, you got 2 victory points to my 10. It was to do with, bad cards, things like that. And, I think it's one of those armies that's going to be playing the objectives and scoring more points before they do die, because they are a bit glass. And, I think I think they're all about objective, all about board control, all about tactics and tactically, you know, because once I think you start playing with them with the blips and stuff, you're really going to start learning what to do with those blips, where to put stuff, where to mess people up. And I think, you know, I think it could literally help you win a game quite easily in the deployment. Especially when, I mean, my Doomsday Arcs were good and I positioned them well. If you place them blips and put them in a position where you could have, and if there was, I don't know, maybe a bit more line of sight blocking or something, you could have, if there was places you could have put them Leman Russes to hide them, for instance, and I had first stand, well, I wouldn't have shot them, they could have moved out, bang. Yeah. You know, things like that you could do with that deployment. And there's like other stratagems you can play, like adding extra blips in. So you can add like a 3 extra blips, and then at the end of the thing, you just take them 3 off, the ones that you don't want to use. So your opponent's never going to know where you're going, you know. So you sort of, as an opponent to Genestealer cult, you're a bit like, well, I'll put this here, but I don't really know what's going to be there. So tactically, you're at a big disadvantage.
You're forced to essentially think of pretty much any situation that can come up. How do I deal with it?
Yeah, and also you're thinking about you got blips at the front of the deployment zone, blips at the back of the deployment zone. You're thinking, well, okay, if that has got a 48-inch range gun or 36-inch range gun, well, if it comes out in the blip at the back, I'm out of range, which is great. If it comes in a blip at the front, I'm in range, you know. And then what range is my weapon? Can I reach them blips, you know? Yeah. So you're thinking a lot about those sorts of things as well.
Not knowing what it is in itself is quite strong, because I could put a blip at the back and you go, well, that must be a Leman Russ because that's got a 70-inch range battle cannon.
Yeah.
Maybe not. It's just a neophyte sat there to prevent you from deep striking.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, that is the Genestealer Codex's strength, and I think there's some stratagems in there, stuff that you can play. They've got that basically Agents of Vex stratagem. If you play Cult of 400 Emperor. Not basically the Agent of Vex, it is the Agents of Vex stratagem, just a different name and 1 point cheaper, which is lovely. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, the Aberrants were fantastic. They really were. I mean, that guy was the Hypermorph.
The Hypermorph, yeah, so the upgraded Aberrant.
Because you're really good, actually. You put the Might from Beyond Psychic spell from the Magus.
So yeah, if you team up the Magus with the Aberrants, then, I mean, that's one thing we need to talk about is the Magus. Yeah. But with Might from Beyond, that ends up giving them +1 strength and +1 attack characteristic. Yeah. With the Aberrants and the Hypermorph, I mean, the Hypermorph was ending up doing 8 hits with the improvised heavy weapon. Yeah. That in itself is ridiculous because it's doing 2 damage each. It tears through stuff if you really want it to. So have a Magus nearby with that, have an Abominant there as well, which then gives them extra hits on the 6s they do.
It's really, really good. I mean, it literally, that tore through my Destroyer unit. Bang, gone. Like, then, and then a couple of Aberrant attacks, but mainly it was that Hypermorph. Yeah. I mean, I think it took out 4 or something. Yeah. Yeah, really, really good. And the Hammer's good on the Aberrants with, you know, extra attack, extra strength. You're wounding pretty much everything on 2s unless you're going up against a really sort of toughness 7 or 8 vehicle. Everything else you're wounding. And then they are sort of your heavy hitters along with, you know, guns and stuff. But we were talking about psychic powers, which I was surprised, I didn't realise, but see, the Magus only does cast one psychic power.
So no smite, knows 2, but only can cast 1.
Yeah, so she's got the ability to cast 3 psychic powers, but can only cast 1. And the same with the Patriarch, which I found very strange. Like, I thought Genestealer cults were a little, I didn't really know much about Genestealer cults, but I just thought they were a little bit more psych heavy than that. Because I feel like Tyranids are quite psych heavy. I
mean, especially when you see a Patriarch and it's a massive Tyranid that's its pose in itself is trying to, you know, as I could say, shooting mind bullets like the old, you know,
it's got his,
trying to kill people.
A bit like the new Primaris model.
And it's like, well, okay, but surely you'd expect the Patriarch to do more than one.
Cast one
power. Yeah. Because I mean, for a lot of armies, as I was saying before, you'd like the option to be able to buff your own army as well as do something to negatively impact your opponent's army and have that choice to go, right, I'm going to, you know, I want to increase the strength and attack characteristic on this unit, but I'm going to then, you know, do whatever.
Stop them firing Overwatch or something. Yeah. Yeah, with the other power.
And then that way that Magus drops in with that Abominant and you've got a really devastating charge.
Yeah. But now you've got to have 2 Maguses or a Magus and a Patriarch just to do like this. And I don't know, I just think that
I don't know if it's really. I mean, maybe when you're if you take things like mind control and
psychic onslaught, is it
something like that?
Mental onslaught.
Mental onslaught. But if you take something like that, yeah, those can be really strong. But then
they're not that strong against Necrons because Necrons have got really high leadership.
That's the problem, is when you're up against the Necrons, then you sort of go, well, I didn't really want to take those powers, although everyone's saying how strong they are. Mental onslaught, how strong they are. I didn't want to particularly take them because mental onslaught and mind control, they're all to do with leadership, and you have to roll above leadership, which can be difficult. I mean, mind control's not too bad because it's 3d6, and you have to get above 10.
But mental onslaught, you both roll off on a d6, and unless you had a patriarch, which is leadership 10, everything else, I think the magus is 8. So that means he'd have to get a 4, and if I rolled a 1 to beat me. And the chances are, most of the time, he might have got 1 or 2 mortal wounds on me, but it wouldn't have been as strong as what like other people are saying on if you're looking at like a toughness 7 vehicle or unit, then not toughness, leadership 7, then maybe. But
the only way around it is essentially you then have to take familiars to be able to do those extra things.
Yes,
but again,
but that's only once per turn. How much is a familiar?
Once per turn. I mean, they're not much really. 12 points.
12 points.
Which gives you an extra power, which
potentially can. No, it's not once per turn. It's once per battle.
No. Let me double check.
I'm pretty.
I think
I'm almost 100% per battle.
I would have thought it's once per turn because you can take up to 2 of them with you.
I'm pretty sure it's once per battle.
Oh, right. If a Magus is accompanied by any familiars, then once per game. Okay. Yeah. At the end of the controlling player's psychic phase, its familiar can lend it additional power. So so once per game. So even then.
So you could take 2. So use 1 on one turn, 1 on another. So that means for 2 turns you'd have 2 powers, but you're spending an extra 24 points. Just 12 points for a power to use something once. It's
an 84-point model, not 80-point model.
So that makes it 94. And then if you took 2, you're looking at 106 points for a psyker that can cast 1 per turn, and then on a couple of them turns you can cast 2.
So I would have hoped that they would have had something a bit more, but
or make familiars like 6 points.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I'm coming from the view of I've played them once. I don't really know the army particularly well.
Yeah.
Maybe you synergise with something else.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
just feels a little bit lackluster when you take into account that like a patriarch, a massive Genestealer that's not as strong as like a librarian.
Yeah,
in a way,
it does seem, especially when it's like got mind control and it is controlling like brainwashing.
I mean, the fact that the patriarch, as far as I understand it, as a patriarch, is essentially everyone's linked to it in some way. It's got a massive mental capacity that you think, well,
maybe that's why it can only cast 1 because it's too busy doing all this stuff. Yeah, but I think that definitely the Genestealer Cult Codex has got a lot to it, and I think it could be very competitive. I just think you need to learn it well, and you need to learn what synergizes. You've still got some more characters to come. There's still more stuff, and I think you need to, if you have the Codex, you need to study it hard, look what you can do. I think the Rock Grinders look good, the Goliath Rock Grinders, especially the melee part. You run them up the field with some acolytes in. The acolytes maybe jump out with hand flamers, or if it's open top, hand flame, and then not only is it good in combat, but it's taken up Overwatch as well because it's a vehicle. Like, stick that into you can get up to 9 attacks with it on a charge. Stick that into a unit of 10, whatever. That's gonna mince them up,
Exactly, yeah. Which is So I think that's. I mean, when I saw these models, the bikes, my immediate and the Ridge Runners, my immediate thought is like, I've got to run like a mining colony as an army here, and I think, to be honest, that's the way I see it, and the way I think I'd be playing it in the future is if I can get some more trucks, it's going to be a heavily vehicle-based army. Yeah. At least for the troops, they're all going to be in vehicles. Yeah. Maybe hopping out if I need to take an objective, and I'll just run the Rock Grinder into something. Yeah, because
we were talking about like the Drukhari and the fact that the Neophytes and the Acolytes, they're weak. They're toughness 3 models. They're shooting toughness, strength 3 weapons.
The Acolytes, you just want to get into close combat. That's where they work. Yeah. But if they're outside of it, they're getting shot.
Exactly. They're just getting turned to mincemeat. But it's like the Drukhari have their raiders and they stick their witches in because their witches are weak. They run them up, they get them in combat. The same as like Cabalites never get out of a raider. They just fly around and shoot people in the raider. It's the only time they get out is if the raider blows up, really, or if they need to jump out to contest the objective. And I think that's going to be very much like Genestealer Colts. I think you're going to have to take the vehicles, and I think that's the way it's going to have to go. Unless you're taking like a heavy Genestealer list, a Genestealer heavy list. You know, I think vehicles with aberrants. You know, and I don't think I think you should take some Lehman Russes. I think they would have been devastating if they'd actually got a chance to fire. You know, if you had 3 of them at the back with a load of vehicles, running troops up, acolytes, other things, deep strike some aberrants in. You know, I think it could be quite strong.
I think if your opponent doesn't have,
and then you've got these guys scouting about holding objectives. You know,
if you've got an opponent that hasn't got a decent screen up or enough models on the table to defend. I mean, if we were if you were playing your Custodies,
oh yeah, I would have struggled.
There probably would have been a lot of points where I could drop in and find places, but against the Necrons
or Knights, you're going to struggle to screen anything unless you're taking a load of Militarum with them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think a lot of it comes down to deep striking is definitely going to be good depending on what army you're playing against and whether they can screen you out.
And that's the great thing at the beginning of every game, depending on who you're playing. So say if you were playing this in a tournament, at the beginning of every game, you've got that choices to make. You think, I'm not going to deep strike that much in this one. You know, I'll put everything in blips, because you can put your whole army in blips as long as it's in your deployment zone. And then, you can tactically do things, and depending on who you're playing, what they're bringing. Yeah. I
mean, the one thing I didn't do in the game, which potentially could work, is that you can take infantry and bikers, take them off the field and put them back on in the next turn if you wanted. So you can, if you're...
your aberrants are right up the other end and they're not doing anything, and you think, I'm not foot slogging them all over there because they just won't ever get there. Yeah.
Or if you've got neophytes, it's like, part of that game I had to go and defend objectives or trying to take objectives in your deployment zone. If you weren't there at the point where I could deep strike, I go, right, this neophyte squad that's just sat in the back, taking them,
deep striking on that. Yeah. On that objective, you've just secured the objective for that turn. I totally agree. So I think there's a lot of stuff you're going to be able to do, and I think it's just finding that list that works. But I still think there's going to be many ways to play them. You could play them with Tyranids, like Tyranid heavy, Genestealer heavy. You could go heavy on the aberrants.
If you wanted, you can go pretty much Astra Militarum detachment with.
You could go loads of Brood Brothers.
Lehman Russ, all the Brood Brothers, get some heavy weapons teams.
Stick a load of mortars at the back, and we haven't even talked about the Ridge Runner. Ridge Runner looks good. You can stick heavy mortar on that, hide that up on an objective. When you need to move, run it somewhere else. Stick in mortar fire, doesn't need line of sight. Or it's got this mining laser, which is like D3 shots, is basically a las cannon. There's still some to come, and I think there's a lot of things you'll be able to do with the Genestealer Codex.
I think there's. I was almost say there's too much choice, but there's no such thing as too much choice.
No.
But it's definitely versatile. If there's different ways that you want to play, I think you can play them.
Yeah.
I would just say the way that I'd be leaning is more vehicle heavy based lists.
Yeah.
Keep the chaff, but keep them hidden.
And I love that whole vehicle. I like the Goliath rock grinders trucks, the jackals. That whole mining colony vehicles all running about. I love the fluff side of that as well. I think that's really cool. You've got these aberrants, and that, I just think that looks really cool as well.
Yeah.
That's what I loved about these releases, is especially the jackals and stuff. I just love the models, and the Ridge Runner looks really cool. So I think if you've got all of that going on, and I think you could make it a really good army.
Yeah, actually, I had a look at the points cost on those on the Ridge Runners.
Nice.
Because look. The jackals.
The Warlord traits look good as well. The stratagems look good. I think there's going to be a lot you can do again with stratagems and deployment.
So it's 50 points for a Ridge Runner without any weapons,
which isn't hugely expensive at all.
No,
how many wounds is it? Actually, I think it must be it's a buggy in it, so it's like 6 or something.
Well, it's like a smaller version of the truck, so it's 8 wounds.
Oh, it's 8 wounds.
Toughness 5. Toughness wise, it's
not huge, but it's like a bug, isn't it? But that's the whole point. It doesn't need to be high toughness. Stick a mortar on it, hide it around a corner. You're just going to bomb them without line of sight.
Yeah, so it comes with 2 heavy stubbers, a heavy mining laser, and a fire launcher.
But you can change that to a heavy mortar, and that heavy mortar is strength 5 -1 damage, D6 shots.
Yeah. Let me just try and work out what the points are actually for this fully, because that's 2 heavy stubbers. Heavy stubbers aren't much, are they? 2 points. So 54 points for that. You throw a heavy mining laser in that. 25. 5 points. So it does go up a bit. So you're
79.
And
so that's 79 points standard. Yeah.
Flare launcher. What is that?
See, the heavy mortar's only 8 points.
Yeah, so you can
stick a heavy mortar on D6, 8 points plus the 4 from the heavy stubbers. You know, you're looking at 62 points for a Ridge Runner.
You could have launcher's 5 points, which comes on.
Has it got a flare launcher as well?
Yeah.
So, okay. So 67 points.
Yeah. So I think if you so say you've got 70 points for a Ridge Runner, if you go with a mortar, that is.
Yeah, 67 points. So you could have 3 Ridge Runners.
Yeah. I think you could fill out quite easily. I think you could run 3 of those, 3 squads of bikes. That's a lot of speed on the table moving. A lot of getting to objectives. Yeah, yeah. And that will then negate having to deep strike everything. You've then got these guys. You know, get these guys, charge everything up, take up the board, and then go right. I'm going to deep strike all this other stuff in front.
Yeah. And you've got all your trucks, your rock grinders pushing up, and then you're putting your aberrants and your abominant on top of that. Some deep strike. You could have mages in them trucks with stuff. Do you know what I mean?
I just envision a table where your backfield is all Lehman Russes, then you've got these Goliath trucks moving up with your infantry, and you've got these bikes and Ridge Runners pushing forward, and then suddenly all these aberrants, abominants, Genestealers, acolytes all just come in on the board edges and start taking objectives. And
I think it's going to be cool. I mean, I'm not sure how many points we'll be able to. How many points that list will cost, but
well, no. But I mean, if you think 70 points for a Ridge Runner, or say if you're going to go for the mine, they say 80 points for them. Take 2 or 3 of those. You're looking at 250 points tops on that. Then you've got 70 points for these. Again, take 3 inches of those. You're looking at about 210 there. So I'd say you could probably run 3 Ridge Runners, 3 bikes of squads, and that's going to cost you somewhere between 500 to 600 points. Yeah. Which that is going to give you quite a lot of board control. Yeah. The Goliath
and just the ability, because they're fast, the ability to get to objectives. You know, you need to secure objectives that, defend objectives that, and they're -1 to hit, so they're perfect. These guys for sitting on objectives. I think there's a lot of versatility in the Codex, and I think that there's a lot of good stuff you can do. There's things like which you didn't do. You can give multiple warlord traits out. Yep. More relics. You know, there's a warlord trait or relic, or gives you I think it's warlord trait gives you D3 command points. So you spend 1 command point or 2 command points, whatever it is, to give that, and then you get D3 back off of one of the other characters, and he gets a free saving roll. You know, there's lots you can do.
Yeah. I mean, I think really touched what it was. It's trying to get an idea as to what the basic units can do before trying to. Because I think with 8th edition particularly, you're building an army around. It's not always your units. It's sometimes a certain stratagem or a trait or relic or something. You sit and go, right, this stratagem is absolutely devastating when combined with these certain units. I need to run those. That 1 block there is going to be like a bomb you drop in one place, and then you've got.
Well, I do it. With destroyers, as I done last time. I dropped a Veil of Darkness them up the table. Used the extermination protocols stratagem on them, which allows them to re-roll hits and wounds, and took out that Goliath truck. Bang, and some neophytes actually. So
quite a lot with them, to be fair.
That just coming in on the back, you've got to deal with it then. And it's taking stuff away from other things, and it's causing you merry hell. But yeah, I just think that there's a lot that we still have to learn about the Genestealer Codex. You'll see people play things. You'll see on Facebook and other places. You'll see where that people are saying about the synergies, and you can do this and that. I mean, Andrew's very good with coming up with synergies. He's like, oh, you can do this, this, and this, and that's why he loves Chaos, because there's just so many synergies with Chaos. You can just find these wacky things to do. But yeah, so I think big thumbs up from us for the Codex. Although the game we played, obviously, the Genestealer Codex didn't
go particularly well. No. I think the problem with that was there was a lot of failed charges, which is something I need to follow, because there must be
a lot of bad luck on your side. Good luck on my side. My list was a competitive list as well. Like, I'm taking it to a tournament, and your list was something you just put together, not fully knowing the Codex. So it's only going to get stronger.
Yeah,
so it's not a fair representation of, because the Genestealer Cult wasn't a competitive list, so it wasn't a fair battle really. But I wanted to test that.
It's not particularly knowing that I've played at all in proper 40k battles. It's not. I didn't play them with the index, so it's not a case of I knew everything about the models we do have, but then saying that all of this stuff has come
so much new stuff,
index,
you know, all the new stratagems,
Yeah.
warlock traits, relics. So it's just about testing, trying it out, more
Knowing
games.
what they can and can't do.
And I believe you're going to be having another game with them.
Yeah, so hopefully I have a game with Andrew. I think that might be against his Tau, so we might have another issue of getting shot off the ball, but we'll see. Yeah,
we'll have a look. We'll see. It'll be nice to see how you change the list and what you do differently, and see what you come up with, and also how you do deployment different, and see what different things you. And obviously, you'll have a bit more time to read through the codex.
Yeah, hopefully find some tricks to pull off.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to leave it there. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Thanks, guys. Bye.
See ya.